The haunting of Ravenhill Manor. Ravenhill Manor had loomed over the edge of town for as long as anyone could remember. Its windows, cracked and grimy, stared down like watchful eyes, and its front doors, sealed tight for years, were rumored to creak open on one night each year, Halloween. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about its dark history, tales of disappearances and strange occurrences that kept even the bravest away. But to Clara and her friends, it was a challenge they couldn't resist. It was tradition, after all. Every Halloween, they dared each other to test their courage. Some years it was a night spent in the graveyard. Other years it was ghost stories by the lake. But this year, Ravenhill Manor called to them, its shadowy silhouette beckoning as the moon rose high. Clara, with her short-cropped hair and determined eyes, was the first to stand before the gates. She glanced back at her friends, Evan, nervously adjusting his glasses, and Riley, who wore her usual smirk of confidence and grin. "Ready?" "Are you sure about this?" Evan asked, casting a wary glance at the manor. "People say it comes alive on Halloween." Riley rolled her eyes. "That's just a story. Come on, let's prove them wrong." Clara pushed the gate, and it groaned in protest before swinging open. The path to the manor was overgrown, the vines creeping like fingers across the cobblestones. As they approached, the massive doors slowly creaked open, revealing the darkness within. Clara felt a shiver, but she wasn't about to back down. With a deep breath, she led the way inside. The foyer was cold, the air heavy with the scent of mildew and dust. Moonlight filtered through the high arched windows, casting eerie shadows that seemed to shift as they walked. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet, and every sound echoed through the vast, empty halls. "Stick together," Clara whispered, "and whatever you do, don't touch anything." But as they moved deeper into the manor, they found it hard to resist. The walls were lined with paintings, each one more lifelike than the last. The first painting they saw depicted a woman in a tattered gown, her eyes following them as they passed. The second showed a group of men in old-fashioned suits, their faces hidden in shadow. It was the third painting that made Clara stop. It was a portrait of her and her friends, standing in the very hallway they were in, staring up at the painting. But something was wrong. In the painting, the three of them were surrounded by shadows, tall, twisted figures with outstretched hands reaching for them. "Guys," Clara breathed, feeling a chill creep up her spine. "Look." Evan and Riley turned, their eyes widening as they saw their own faces staring back at them. "This is impossible," Evan muttered, his voice barely audible. "It's us." Riley stepped closer, her hand almost touching the canvas before she stopped herself. "How can this be here?" Clara's heart raced. She felt the air grow colder, and as she turned, she saw movement down the hall, a flicker of a shadow disappearing around the corner. "We need to keep moving. This place is wrong." They pressed on, turning into a grand hall lined with more paintings. This time, each one was familiar, a snapshot from their past. Clara saw herself as a child, standing by her mother's side at the funeral of her father. Evan's painting showed him alone in his room, surrounded by books, while Riley's depicted her running through a field, her face etched with sadness. "These paintings, they know us," Evan whispered. Riley's smirk was gone. "We should leave, now!" But as they turned back toward the entrance, they found the doors they had come through sealed shut, the shadows in the hallway growing darker. "There's no going back," Clara said, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. "We have to find another way out." Deeper into the manor they went, the temperature dropping with each step. The next room they entered was a large parlor, its walls covered in even more paintings. But these were different. These weren't from their past. They were from their future. Clara's eyes fell on the first one. It showed her standing alone in the middle of the forest at night, her eyes wide with fear as she looked back at something just out of sight. The second painting depicted Evan, surrounded by books that seemed to twist and melt, the words spilling off the pages as he reached for help. The final painting showed Riley, standing before a mirror, her reflection staring back with a sinister smile. "This isn't possible," Clara whispered, feeling the walls close in. "It's like the manor knows us, knows what's going to happen." Evan's voice trembled. What if these are choices, things we might do?" Riley shook her head, her expression defiant. "It's trying to scare us. It's just a trick." But the manor seemed to disagree. The doors slammed shut, and the candles lining the walls flared to life, casting long shadows that stretched across the floor. A voice, low and echoing, filled the room. "Welcome to Ravenhill Manor. Each step forward reveals a choice, a path to your fate. Choose wisely or become part of the legend." The room grew colder, and Clara felt the pressure of the manor's presence. "It's testing us," she said, her breath visible in the frigid air. "We have to figure out what it wants." They moved to the next door, and as they passed through, they found themselves in a room that was entirely different, an elaborate ballroom, the chandeliers overhead swaying as if caught in an invisible breeze. In the center of the room, a pedestal held a single mirror. Clara approached cautiously, feeling the weight of the manor's gaze on her. The mirror's surface rippled, and as she looked into it, she saw her reflection change. It showed her alone in the village square. Everyone else gone, the buildings empty and the streets filled with fog. She saw herself standing there, her eyes filled with the same loneliness she had felt since her father's passing. The voice returned. "Do you wish to change your path? To leave this place? You must choose." Clara felt a lump in her throat. The manor was giving her a chance to alter her fate, to choose a different path. But she knew the truth. She couldn't change what had happened. She couldn't bring her father back, and she couldn't escape the sadness she carried. All she could do was accept it and move forward. With a deep breath, she turned away from the mirror. "I accept my past," she said firmly. "I won't let it trap me here." The mirror shimmered, and the room brightened, its heavy presence lifting. Her friends watched, and one by one, they faced their own mirrors. Evan confronting his fear of failure, and Riley letting go of the anger she had held on to for years. As each of them made their choice, the manor's grip weakened. The doors ahead opened, revealing the way out. The paintings lining the walls faded, their images dissolving into mist. Together, Clara, Evan, and Riley stepped through the final door, emerging back into the night air. The manor stood behind them, its windows darkening as the first light of dawn touched the horizon. They looked back, knowing they had faced their fears and escaped the manor's grasp. But as they walked away, Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She knew they had made it out, but the manor would awaken again, waiting for the next brave souls to enter its haunted halls. I hope you enjoyed the short story. Like and subscribe for more. Thank you for wandering the foggy paths of Mystmoor with us. Stay curious, but beware what you may uncover in the mist. Farewell, brave souls, from Mystmoor Mysteries.